Mr. Ambassador, is President Putin really serious about peace in Ukraine?
Absolutely. I have no doubt that we can do peace, but this peace should be well prepared. We do not put on a ceasefire, because ceasefire will bring nothing. We need an overall agreement which will resolve problems once and forever. Security problems in Europe, guarantees, security guarantees for Ukraine, for Russia, absolutely, for everybody over there. For this, we need a good preparation meetings, a lot of meetings perhaps. So far, we do not see neither that there is a plan in Ukraine or European allies here or in London that they do have a prepared plan, like in Gaza, for instance, which was around 20 points prepared plan before a summit meeting.
But that was a ceasefire, and often you need a ceasefire first and then talk about the substantive issues. Why won't Russia do that?
Very simple. We have a long history of negotiations with Ukraine. And we know that simple ceasefire will bring nothing to it, because Ukraine will be very stubborn, supported by the allies not to negotiate further on. And we did have such a situation in April 22, when we have decided on a ceasefire. Even we have withdrawn our contingent, which was not far from Kiev, just as a sign of goodwill. And then nothing. Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, has come and said, Ukraine should fight, you continue fight, no peace with Russians. It is.
What compromises has President Putin offered to get peace?
Well, if you talk about encourage and the meeting with the Americans, there was a plan. As far as we understand, and as far as facts that we know, that Mr. Witkoff, whom you know, of course, has brought initially to Moscow a plan, a certain plan, a number of principles, I will say, of future settlement. On this basis, an encourage has been arranged meeting over there. This was a repetition of the principles. President Putin has gone over there, and all these principles has been repeated over there.
But every
do we understand? Yes, we do understand. No, that was okay. But later on, unfortunately, it was all rejected by the Ukrainians, and as far as we understand, by European leaders that has gone to Washington.
But every time we hear from Foreign Minister Lavrov about Russia's demands, Russia's current position, it's exactly the same as at the beginning of the war.
More or less, I will say, we do not change our position, because we...
so that's why I ask, what compromise?
Your question is correct if we understand the ground roots of the war. I will say that Americans, for the first time during this history, they have an understanding of it. They're interested in it. And we explain why it has all happened. Very differently from London. Here the government do not want to understand why it all did happen. They do not want to know the history. They are just saying black and white. From the very beginning, UK has proclaimed that they are prime ally of Ukraine. Russia is bad, Ukraine is good, and on this basis they continue to act.
I'm still trying to work out where you're offering compromises if your position now is exactly the same as at the beginning of the war.
Then why we should offer compromises? We continue.
Because that's how peace is made.
At the moment, I do not see that why we should agree for a ceasefire. As I understand, I explained to you why. There is a certain dynamic on the battlefield. The dynamic shows that we are in offensive. We are now, since January, we have got about 5,000 square kilometers of land and 220 settlements, villages, small towns, and all of that. It is difficult, but we are continuing our advancements.
So the Russian position is we're going to win this. Why should we?
Yes, we are winning. Yes, we are definitely winning. Ukraine is definitely losing ground, and more quicker, because advancement is now, the dynamic is becoming more quicker and quicker. Unfortunately, the mass media here in Britain, they do not see that. There is a big encirclement right now around Pokrovsk and also around other cities and towns. And we anticipate that in the coming weeks it will be even worse for the Ukrainian troops to keep grounds and not to retreat.
The majority of your attacks seem to have been against energy installations, certainly your air attacks. Is Russia's strategy this winter to try and freeze the Ukrainian civilian population into submission?
Well, these attacks, they are targeted those installations that are connected with the militaries, with defense industry, with those units that are deployed on the forefront. We cannot avoid this. We could have done it much earlier, but we are trying to save actually last winter before and all of that stuff. But we did believe that there will be a reason on the side of Kiev that they will stop this war, they stop military fighting, and they do not. So now we have taken a more dramatic force, more serious measures, I will say, against.
So you are trying to freeze them into submission this winter?
No, we are trying to stop a military movement on the side of Ukraine. It is not targeted against population. Unfortunately, they are suffering, yes, as well.
Are you worried that President Trump is losing faith in President Putin's desire for peace?
It is extremely difficult to tell what President Trump is thinking at every moment of time, because he's changing his position very quickly. But from our initial conversations with President Trump, his team, his people, and all of that, we have found a good interlocutor, very serious personality who would like really to understand our policy, our views, as I have said, ground roots of conflict and all of that stuff. So I cannot believe that he has lost by now everything what has been discussed before.
But US intelligence is briefing Congress, we know this, that Russia's desire for peace doesn't exist. And it sounds, from what you're saying, that that may be the case.
Well, U.S. intelligence has many heads. Sometimes these heads are saying different things, so there are different speakers on it. Well, I explained to you that, and you have an understanding that we have designated certain targets in this campaign, and we are going to achieve these targets. Perhaps before or not. This does not cut off possibility of negotiations. There are two ways of doing it. During the Vietnam War, for instance, negotiations were in parallel to military actions, and they have brought peace. We perfectly understand that we cannot stop at the moment and switch over to the negotiations, because it will be a failure of negotiations. So we have to continue actions in the field, but we are prepared to go further with negotiations. Now we are expecting the answer from the Americans. Did they withdraw or ideas and principles offered by Witkoff, or they still stick to it?
How painful are these new sanctions against your oil companies?
I do not know. Even President Trump, whom you have mentioned, said that the results will be seen in a half a year. At the moment, really, there are different estimations, different calculations. For the moment, it goes as it goes.
How worried are you that these sanctions and possibly new sanctions could start having a real effect on your economy?
My friend, we have by now 40,000 different sanctions applied to Russia. 40, just imagine, 40,000. And so what? We didn't change our position, we go on.
Russia has just tested a new nuclear torpedo. It has led to President Trump announcing that he will renew nuclear testing as well. Are you leading the world into a very dangerous place at the moment?
Yeah, I have read this morning what President Trump has said yesterday about nuclear testing. We have a treaty that is prohibiting nuclear testing, 96 dated. Unfortunately, it didn't enter into force because the United States did not ratify it, as far as I remember. Yet we did ratify it. The United States do not execute nuclear testing for 30 years, and it will be a very serious step which will aggravate, of course, the situation, escalate situation, which will provide example for the others to resume nuclear testing, and they are numerous, I would say. It is still unclear what kind of it, whether it will be a testing of the carriers, perhaps, or there are testing done by computers, or underground testing, so there is a variety. So we have to understand what does he mean.
But much of the nuclear saber rattling recently has been coming from Moscow, from former President Medvedev, and indeed from President Putin.
I wouldn't call it nuclear sub-rattling, as you have said, but we have possession of a very serious arsenal, to which now there is an addition, a very serious addition. We have warned the world and all others that we have started to work on that for many years ago. We announced it initially in 2018, as I am not mistaken, and now it has come to a realization. It is a new generation, definitely, of strategic weapon. It will change the general understanding of defense and offense. In that side, I was part of negotiations in this area, so I know what I am saying. But at the same time, it is our answer to abolishment of the cornerstone of strategic weapons, ABM Treaty, from which Americans unfortunately has withdrawn some years ago.
It does sound like the world is heading for a very dangerous place.
Well, we suggested to the Americans to prolongate our limitations and obligations in the strategic field for another year. So far, we have heard some positive noises also from President Trump, but we didn't get a definitive answer if they are prepared to do that or not prepared to do that. Everybody around, experts and serious people, are saying that we have to prolongate obligations in this field and then to enter into the new negotiation. It is a possibility.
Can I ask you finally about the meeting between President Trump and President Xi of China? China has been an important ally to Russia throughout the last 3 years of war.
I agree.
Are you worried about a rapprochement between Washington and Beijing that could impact Moscow?
No, I don't think so. China is our very serious strategic partner. During this year, we have developed our very good friendship, and we stand back to back with China on many issues. In some areas, we have differences, definitely. In very many areas, we have agreement on it. But the general climate in the world, if there is a rapprochement between the United States and China, we do not mind. So, of course, it is.
You believe that China,
only for the better.
You believe that China will always have your back in terms of the war in Ukraine?
Sooner or later, the war will be over, of course. But our Russian rapprochement with China is lasting for many years.
And nothing President Trump can do can change that?
I don't think so.
Thank you very much indeed.